Hi, welcome back. My name is Mel Rentmeister, and I'm sharing with you the energy update and energetic themes for May 2022. Now, what is there for this month? And as always, I will share with you what I sense from the collective and how this may also translate into your personal experience and your personal life. Okay, so I'm looking at both levels, and you just stay completely within yourself. You check whether this resonates with you or not, and you just take from this what you feel is valuable and valid for you. Okay, so the grand theme of this month that I sense is the theme of control. And this wanting control, like the want to control, is very, very dominant during the month of May. And it will continue, of course, but this is what I sense very strongly in the forefront. So, on a global scale, obviously, there are many issues, there are many things we see, but the topic of control, who has control over what, who can take control back, who can exercise control, a huge, strong topic. And when we see this, and this is also that's why we're actually doing also these energy updates, so we can see how do we deal with this and what do we do with this. Because when we see this happening in the media and around us, we are likely to have a reaction, like an emotional reaction, some kind of reaction. And oftentimes, when we see that somebody is trying to control or is controlling someone else, some other situation, country, whichever, we respond internally with usually or oftentimes with the sense, if we don't agree with it, for example, with the sense of this shouldn't happen, they shouldn't do this, and then we have this sense of, I'm annoyed with this, I'm angry, I feel powerless, and so on. And with this often arises then the need or the want to control that which I don't agree with. So I want to control the behavior of the one who is acting in a controlling manner. And even by me stating this, you can already sense what energy lies beneath that. So if we see things in the world that in our view are not noble, are not compassionate, and have this vibration of control and manipulation and domination, and we internally feel that this does not resonate harmonically within us, but that we feel like, no, this is not who I am, this is not what I would like, then if we enter into the same type of energy, wanting to end the situation by controlling the one who is in control, let's say, we send out the same energy that we're actually not liking. And this is the challenge for this month, or maybe the opportunity for us this month, that we can look at that. When does that happen? And also in our personal lives, when somebody tries to control us, when we feel we were being manipulated, we were being forced or cajoled into behaviors or decisions, or because someone else wants that from us, we sense the resistance. We don't want to do it. We want to decide freely what we want to do. And so if we experience that in our lives, it's the same thing. It's like the way I respond, I can make a choice within that response or by the response, which means I can either choose to amplify exactly what I do not like, what I do not want, by doing the same thing to someone else, right? By wanting to control the behavior of X, Y, Z. Or I can actually realize that this type of, even if I succeed in controlling somebody, I have to do it in a way that I contract the energy into me. I pull the power into me by wanting to control, wanting to manipulate. It's a power that I have to take. And as you know, with all leaders, with all leadership, with everyone in power, if the power is negatively oriented, and by that I mean in polarity, not in judgment, right? So if the power is in a negative way, meaning it's not taking other people into consideration, it's service to self-focused, it's focused on your own wants, your own needs, your own wishes and desires, and you use these others for that to increase your power, it is always a taking. And that person or the organization, whichever, that does that always has to continue doing that because it's a taking. So you have to force the others again and again and again and again to surrender, to give you, basically to be to your service. And you have to force them, because if you gave them the choice, they would say, no, thank you, I'm gone. So in order for that to happen, what the negative polarity does is, and we see that also in leaderships in the world, and have been seeing that for thousands of years, and also just regular people, if they move down that path, then the control and the manipulation is the way which they gain and maintain the power. And what they basically need to do all the time is they need to infringe and diminish free will. Because as soon as they allow the other person or the other side free will, and they can opt out, they would. So you cannot let them. So, and this is also always how we know. I know this is a time that is very confusing for many people, because we see so much in the media, in social media, we hear so much that is contradicting information. And even for people who are very much looking for the truth, they're very confused because they're contradicting informations about certain world situations. And if you want to know what is true and what not, what is actually in alignment with, let's say, the positive and what's not, there are criteria that you can look for. One is let's say the dark side or the manipulative side uses confusion and diversity of information, let's say, to be successful and to become more powerful. Because when someone is confused, they cannot polarize to one side or the other. They're just confused, so they don't know. So if you're confused about someone's behavior, you cannot go against them. You don't go with them. You're just kind of on the fence, and therefore you're powerless anyway. Because you're not choosing. And so that is a good thing for the dark side, let's say, if somebody, and that's not in judgment, because the light and the dark, they all have their place. So, but if somebody is in that let's say vibration, then this is what they will use. So if you're confused with the information that's out there, what you can always look for to know whether something is lightful or not, right? Now, one thing is behavior, and there is clear indication in the behavior. But if you say, well, that behavior was necessary because first that person was victimized maybe by someone else, and now they're just basically defending themselves. Well, the question is, in what way? And this is it. It's like, even if that was the case in certain situations, and I don't want to talk politics. I also want to talk about your private life. But if that is the case, then the response someone has to maybe being manipulated or being dominated or controlled, it's like whatever way you behave then has to reflect what's in alignment with you. And so in the powerlessness state, there is not much what we can do. And we cannot do much if we focus on what we don't want to see and what we don't like about someone's behavior, about the actions of organizations, of governments, and so on. The power that we have lies within knowing who we are and realizing that, okay, what I want is, because I feel compassion for those who are being controlled and dominated, and I respect and want free will to be respected, this is my way and path of response and action. So actually, I respond by throwing my light into these areas with, for example, in compassion to those that are not in a position to execute their free will, that are being controlled, that are being dominated. So I put my light and my love and my compassion there, and my focus, instead of focusing on what I don't like to see, on what I don't agree with, and trying to go against that. And obviously most people then in their everyday life, sitting on the couch pondering about this, feel powerless because they think, what can I do? But I don't agree, and somebody should stop this, and somebody should basically use force and go against whatever is happening. So basically, by the same means that I don't agree with, I want to control and I want to manipulate. And that's the same energy. That's the same energy that you judge, or that in your, maybe I should say it differently, because that the energy that does not feel in alignment with you. So if we respond though with the same energy, we come out of alignment. And this is not how we transform the world. This is not how we create more peace. And this is not how we create more freedom of free will, more respect. That's not how we do it, by just being more dominant than the domineering one. Because this is an endless game. It's always like the ones who have more power, more weapons, they will be the ones on top, and the others, and then it's like, so we have to do the same, and it's a never-ending game. And we have watched this, we know history, we have seen this on the planet, and it's time for change. And this is, for me, in my sense, is a very, very powerful realization that when we watch this controlling force doing what it does, that we then opt to choose to respond with our true power. And the true power is not taking and pulling it towards us. The power of the light, this is the opposite of the dark, is radiant. The power of the light goes out and reaches whoever is there and needs it. It's not being forced onto anyone. It is there, it radiates, and it is very strong. And just let's remind ourselves that when darkness and light are in conflict with each other, the light does not show its power, or is not effective in showing power, by adopting the attributes of the darkness, but by being more of what it is, by being brighter, by being the light. Because there is no source of darkness. So when light comes, darkness gets less and less, and eventually disappears, dissolves, because, and only because, there is light. And if you know that this is who you truly are, what you truly are, unconditional love and light, and I don't mean this in the fluffy-duffy way. I hear myself saying these words, and I know what it sounds like. I know it sounds like nicey talk. But I cannot emphasize enough that this is the only way we transform the world. By being who and what we are, which is love and light. That's it, end of story. And we can discuss this, but this is the underlying truth of everything, that, let's say, that is the truth by which spiritual truths unfold. Now, obviously, that is in my perception or in my understanding. This is how it is. You can always say, well, I disagree with that. Whatever you're talking about, I have no idea. So, but in the end, and I know for most of you who watch videos like this totally resonates and makes sense. So by being the light and becoming more of it, the more we see what we don't like, the more we turn to what we want to see. The more we turn on the light of our compassion and the light of our love and the light of our joy and the light of our hope for this humanity, because there is hope. Earth is already in 4D. Humans are still totally divided, like totally divided. They're the barbaric humans and they're already the enlightened humans. We have everything on the planet right now, totally mixed. And this is why it's also, to see it positively, this is why it's also such an opportunity for us to grow, because we get to interact with all these different levels of vibration in this third density. This is amazing. It's tough. It's very tough, and we don't have it easy down here, but it is an opportunity. And this also in this month with the control. Let us look at our need. Where do we want to control situations, people, and so on? And let's change this, if this resonates with you, into allowing everyone, even the controlling people, to have their free will to want to explore being controlling. They can do that in this lifetime. This is what Earth is for. Everyone has the right to live what they want to live. And if somebody wants to be really mean to other people and use other people and do horrible things, they have the right to do it within their own free will. Who are we to tell them what to do? But if this is not who we feel we are, and if this is not what we want to support with our energy, we need to unplug ourselves from this energy and focus on who and what we are and what we want, and make this brighter and make this bigger. And this is how we change the world. This is how the world will become high vibe, higher frequency. This is how the world will become a lot more joyful, a lot more vibrant. Because once we do this, every single one of us who becomes aware of this choice here, that we have this choice, and if we do this, the light increases every single day, and the love and the joy and the compassion. And this is the world we want, isn't it? So we have to already display what we want. We cannot use old tactics to fight an old system in order to create a new one. We can only do it by being new, by being what we want. Okay? And with that, I understand that for many people it is hard, because especially for empaths and for very sensitive souls, it is very hard to witness and be aware of what is going on in humans' lives who are suffering and who are being hurt deliberately and being tortured and being put in pain in whatever way, shape or form, without having a response or a reaction towards the perpetrator that is negative and that is judging, right? Which is understandable, but judgment is not helpful, because judgment is not unity consciousness, because everything is one. So even what we don't like, what we don't agree with, what does not resonate with us, what's not in alignment with ourselves, it is still just the other self. So it is an other self, but it is part of me, because there is only one, right? We all come from the same creative source. And if I realize that, then it's like whatever I judge and whatever I put in darkness is holding me there, is kind of a part of myself that I put in darkness. And if you find it difficult, and I find this very helpful, for some of you, and I hope that this is the same for you, if you find it difficult to be non-judgmental towards a perpetrator in whatever sense, and I know there are things that we cannot sometimes even think about that are happening to people, to humans, every age, every situation, what humans do to other humans, sometimes is just even unspeakable, and we cannot even think about it without nearly losing our minds. But in that, if we look at the perpetrator and we feel like judging is the wrong thing, because I know it's all one, and everything should be looked at with compassion, how can I do this? Then maybe you can look at it from the point of view that everyone who polarizes towards the darkness, let's say towards the negative polarity, towards control, power, manipulation at the cost of other people, to service, to self, everyone who does that has had a path over possibly, I don't know, hundreds, who knows, many lifetimes to that polarization. So, and oftentimes, and maybe this is what you can relate to, that path to negative polarization, to wanting to control others, to wanting to hurt others, that's a journey often that is filled with pain. Because if we look at how things develop, somebody who is nurtured and loved and cared for and knows their value, knows their light, they will not have the need or the desire to behave in such a way and to live that. They just don't. So if we can actually connect with the painful path into darkness, let's say, it might be easier for us to not judge the outcome, let's say the person who is now committing terrible actions or performing terrible actions and hurting other humans or other creatures, or maybe this helps. They didn't just wake up and decide, okay, I'm going to be evil. Okay, that usually in terms of evolving and in terms of the evolution, how we progress, oftentimes that's a very painful path that people have behind them. That's like over lifetimes, not just one lifetime, many lifetimes, often. Maybe this is something that is helpful for you too. So if we can connect with that, we can put our love and our light onto that as well. And once we're able to truly and genuinely put love and light on perpetrators, on the darkness, on the negative polarity, the polarity loses in power, because you're loving them, you are loving it. It's like, are you kidding me? They feed off, like this energy feeds off of violence and of conflict. And if you come and say, I love you, I accept you, the polarity loses its strength. And so that's a good thing we can do, because that way we weaken them, and we in turn, by being able to do that, our light grows, our power grows. I know this is very metaphysical maybe right now, but this is so much what's there during this month and continuing on, that I need to share this with you, and maybe you can also use it as an opportunity to reflect on that while we go through the month. Please leave a comment and let me know whether this was helpful or not in terms of dealing with what is going on within your life or within the collective. Let me know whether this was helpful, and I'm going to love you and leave you for today, and we'll talk again next time if you want to.